Woke up this morning, coffee in hand, flipped on the screen, my favorite man. Crafty's on the TV, chipping that stone with obsidian and flint, he's in the zone. He's shaping the future with a hit and a crack, building the legends, ain't no turning back. With every sharp edge, he's teaching the way of the ancients who thrived back in the day. Crafty on the TV, talking that smack, stone carving dreams, never looking back. From Texas to Vermont, Crafty studies us, chiseling the past, building futures for us. Wielding the hammer, he's steady and strong, crafting a world where we all belong. Underneath those layers of dust and grit, finds the magic every little bit. A sculptor of stories, buried in the ground, each piece he uncovers wisdom abound. With every collision, the sparks start to fly. As the old world awakens, we question why. He's digging deeper where the shadows play, reviving old crafts that could fade away. Crafty on the TV, talking that smack, stone carving dreams, never looking back. From Texas to Vermont, Crafty studies us, chiseling the past, building futures for us. Wielding the hammer, he's steady and strong, crafting a world where we all belong. And in this life, we're all just searching for our place in the world, a way to keep working. With the flick of his wrist, he brings forth the light. In every gray morning, he makes it feel right. So gather around, let the stories unfold. Crafty's our guide through the young and the old. With the sun rising high and the day moving on, Crafty carves dreams till the light is all gone. He's shaping the future one chip at a time. With every creation, he's keeping the rhyme. From the heartland of Texas to the mountains of green, the legacy lives on through the stonework unseen. With every perspective, he's showing the way. Crafty keeps going, come whatever may. Crafty on the TV, talking that smack, stone carving dreams, never looking back. From Texas to Vermont, Crafty studies us, chiseling the past, building futures for us. Wielding the hammer, he's steady and strong, crafting a world where we all belong. So here's to the mornings with coffee in hand and Crafty on the screen, the true heart of the land. With a hit and a crack, he's paving the way through stone and through story. He inspires the day.
Hello, hello. I made some new Axis Deer tools. So I'm working on my natural tool set. I'm going to make some composite pressure flakers, but for now I think I'm going to use this as a pressure flaker tonight. But I've got my my usual set of natural tools that I'll be using as well. Alright, so tonight is natural tool night, and I'll be knapping some of this Cobden. If this doesn't work out, I'll try something else. I've got some other stuff here. Got this unusual Arizona obsidian from it's Presley Wash obsidian. It's a greenish type of obsidian from Arizona. So I might try that. And what else do I got? I got this. I don't know what it is. It's obsidian, but I don't know what type. Okay, so let's check the chat, see who's here. So we got some obsidian and some Cobden, and we've got some other stuff lined up. All right, so Marty Wybe is first. Dockenstein, Jorge Valadez, Timothy Lithic, Alan is here, Mr. Jim is here, Stoneface, Sam, Dockenstein, John Jones, Ross Wellman is here. What is this? WAQ is here. We got some new people. Let's see. Mike Mason is here. So yeah, Alan is our new moderator. So if you don't behave, let's see. Timothy Lithic is here. Did I say that already? Billy Elliott. Hello, Jack. They look awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Who else? Who else? Graylin is here. Good evening. Hey, Jack, been a few since I watched. Charles and Flintsnapper is here. Okay, so let's get started. Let me see what this Cobden is going to look like. All right. I'll break into this. It's from Jim Main. See you in the chat? I don't remember. Let's see. Anyways, he'll show up. Probably. Let's see. Should I use a big hammerstone? Let's try see, I have a new Axis Deer billet. Yeah, and it's a shed, but I ground it down. Hopefully it's solid enough. I was grinding these Axis Deer antlers, and they are a little bit pithy in the middle, more than I thought. But these are sheds, so they might be a little bit old or something. So they seemed a little bit granular and pithy in the middle, but we'll see. They're nice and dense and heavy. Yeah, it's not going to do it. I can already tell I'm going to break the antler on this stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, that's better. Ooh, it's nice. Supposedly. So we're just going to take it easy tonight. We'll go till whenever. See, the patina is darker than the real stuff on the inside. Yeah, how do we get that turtle back off there? I'm going to have to strike it extremely hard with the hammerstone. Oh, yes. Yeah. That's the secret. Strike it really, really hard with the hammerstone. Like that. Okay? Some of those flakes went into orbit. See that? Whoa. Can't make it talk yet. Yeah. I'll let you have that one, but, you got lucky. I'll let you get that one, but, you're going to have to work for the rest of them. All right. So I got the turtle back removed. Nice. It looks like it's regular high-grade Cobden. Regular high-grade? Yeah, not super-duper high-grade, just regular high-grade. What is super-duper high-grade? I've seen some of this stuff that doesn't have any cracks in it and all that kind of stuff, and, bigger pieces. So the bigger pieces are actually rated higher. Yeah, not supposed to be, but I just thought I'd say that. Yeah. Just for purposes of making money, they're rated a little bit higher when they're bigger pieces. But this is good. I don't like working pieces that are too big. And there is such a thing because they break so easily. All right. Do you wear goggles? I wear these. This is what I wear. I have these on right now. They're reader glasses from Walmart. Yeah. But even if I did not need them, I would wear reader glasses of the least magnification possible. But I do need them, right? What are these? These are 1.25. I think these are one step above the least magnification possible. I don't, but yeah, it helps my vision too. But it throws off the depth perception a little bit, so you've got to get used to wearing them. I notice that when I don't wear them now, my depth perception is not that great for Flintknapping. I need my vision to be distorted, in other words, in order to remember how to Flintknap. Yeah. So there's that. You got to make sure your vision is consistent when you're napping because it makes a difference. If I don't wear my glasses now, even if I don't need them, it throws me off a little bit. I got to get readjusted. It feels like I forgot how to Flintknap. Let's see. I want to use the artificial abrader, but I got to use this one. It's a quartzite. The artificial one removes material quickly. The natural, quartzite stone abraders or sandstone take longer than an artificial abrader. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to skin this and get the easy part out of the way. All right. Figure out where all the cracks are and stuff and remove those if there's any natural cracks in it. So, and remove cortex. Make sure there isn't any, especially near the tip or whatever. Yeah, especially near the tip. You don't want to have an issue with weak material, or I don't, near the tip. Yeah, and it's getting considerably smaller, yes. With natural tools, they have a tendency to remove a lot more material than what you're used to if you're used to using copper. Yeah. Copper conserves. Of course, I could nap this with my pinkies out and try to conserve the stone a little bit. But I normally don't do that. Why? Because it's just something that wears you out in the beginning. I don't want to get worn out in the very beginning and then toward the end when I need to be not worn out and doing the most complicated, hardest part of Flintknapping at the end. It's no fun. I gotta pace myself. Don't expend too much energy thinking or whatever in the beginning. The finishing is the hardest part, so that's when you want to be the most awake. You don't want to be all mentally worn out. But yeah, that's when most people get mentally worn out. When they finally reach the ending stage, they go, okay, I should be able to finish out, and they don't realize that they're already tuckered out. They're already tired, and so that's what they mess up. That's one reason why they mess up. If you mess up. Okay, we need to get these edges looking a little bit more better. Yeah. Let's see, what do I do? So I'm thinning the ends down first, of course. I'm going to get rid of, I had to skin it, right? But this area seems to be a little bit ill prepared for flaking, so I'll get to that in a minute. Let me thin down this area first. Yikes. Was it thinned down a little bit too good? So I'm going to zigzag this area right here. So take some flakes in that direction and then take some flakes in that direction. Try to drop the edge below center line just a little bit. Don't have to be too much. Gotta make sure I don't take too much off the edge because the hammerstones are really aggressive. I want to conserve some of that width. Just in case. Yikes. A little bit too much gusto there. But it wasn't flaking. It didn't go. Come on. See, it's not cooperating as well on this side as it did on the other side. Yeah, it's a little bit tougher. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. We're getting through to the middle. There is some internal issues. Uh-oh. See that? It's not a good sign, but we're going to keep going. I'll check the chat after I get done with this easy part. Okay. Come on. It's getting hot in here. What is the temperature? Yeah, the temperature warmed up. It's been warming up, and we're supposed to get 90 degrees later this week. Oh, joy and all fun. But yeah, I'll be doing live streams late at night now, so I don't have to worry too much about my camera overheating. In fact, it's not an issue at this hour, no matter how hot it is during the day. I'll just put the fan in here and cool down the shop after the sun goes down. Yeah. Come on. That's what we want. Yeah. It doesn't like it, but I'm going to do it. It's got a nice little bullseye looking thing going on. Yes. We're going to try to thin this down. Do we have a plan on what type of point? What points are made from Cobden? We just looked at a bunch of Adinas the other night. Could make another Adina. Yeah, this is the easy part. All right, we've done the easy part. Where's my? Let's clean up a little bit as usual, so we can move on. This is a good piece. Look how nice that is. This has got mess. Let's see. Alan says, "Did you get a volcanic rock abrader from Brady?" Yeah, I did. I just can't find it, Alan. I did get it. It's got to be in one of my boxes. I do remember it. I just don't know where it is. Got a bunch of slabs. It's in my stuff up here somewhere. I got boxes on top of boxes. Yeah. All right. So what do we do with this? We got to stash this where I have other Cobden, or label it. Because if I don't label it, I'm going to go, "Hey, hornstone, man, that's a cool hornstone." It's similar to hornstone. Yeah. Cobden 2026 signed this. Who's Cobden? You don't know Cobden? He's a cool guy. Yeah. Can you imagine? I got to label all the flakes. Yeah. If I don't, I get them mixed up because sometimes I got Fort Payne and Hornstone and all that stuff, and I get mixed up. And I save these flakes. Because I mixed this up with Fort Payne easily. Right? It did say Cobden when I started. Hopefully it said Cobden. I misplaced things. I just now today finished unloading my car for my trip. Yeah, I finally took all the rocks out. I had 4 buckets of rocks in the car, but in the floorboards, I bought some laundry bags, cloth laundry bags that I put the rocks in, so I can pack them down on the floorboards instead of having them in buckets or whatever. Having the rocks in buckets, I had them in the laundry bags. Anyway, I finally took those out. Close to 200 pounds of that stuff. Right? 4 buckets. Each about 60 pounds. Over 200 pounds of rocks. Of various sorts. Some purchased, some free. Some challenge rocks. I got a bunch of challenge rocks. But I did not see the obsidian abrader. So that means I got it in a separate little tray or something. You know, I have a bunch of these little trays. What is this one? I might nap some of this too tonight, if this one doesn't work out. This is Georgetown, right? Yeah. I will nap some of this. So I got some of these, and I don't know. I'll have to check around. I need to write the note. Hold on a second. I remember to buy a notebook. So if I don't write it down. See, I'm assembling my new toolkit for natural tools. I do need this. We've got volcanic, abrading stone, from Alan Cole. Yeah. I got some stuff already stashed outside in my outdoor boxes. So if anyone can remind me, let's see. Yeah, anyone that can think of something, just remind me if I forgot to do something that you were hoping that I would do. If I forgot to do something that you're hoping that I would do, yeah. Just remind me, I'll write it down. I got a notebook now. Yeah. Oh yeah, what else is in the chat? Let's see who else is here. No, not that. Come on. Let's see. James SU. Why is everyone doing the same lives? Because we're Flintknappers. Are you 12 years old? You got to be at least 18 mentally. You can be less than 18 years old, but you've got to be an adult mentally. Hey, Turd Ferguson. Awesome. I'm always glad to make it to a live stream. Thank you, Patrick. I love working Georgetown Church. Yeah, right now I'm working some Cobden, right? But if this doesn't work out or if I get bored, I'll just switch over to Georgetown. We'll work both. Let's see. Royal Browski. I lived on the East Coast my whole life in Pennsylvania. Has no cactus, but I did see yucca growing in someone's yard. Looks abandoned. Might harvest some. There you go. Jimmy Armstrong is here. Pittsburgh, Mississippi. Thank you for the live show. Oh, you're welcome. Let me see. Kind of seems like you got a flake with the grain of the flow. Yeah, the Cobden doesn't have grain, as far as I know. It does have little internal defects and bands in it, but it's not a grainy type of material. Let's see. Midbar Coal. I live at Grand Canyon's end, cactus country. My front yard is cactus forest. Excuse me. Still trying to get over something that I called a lingering. Yeah, it's just like a cold that lingers, but it's not a cold. It's just something else. Yeah, the volcanic abrader. Thank you for the super chat, Alan. $2. Billy Elliott. I get you, Royal. Maybe the way it cooled the obsidian and developed stresses. Blah, 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 blah. What else is here? What else is here and who else is here? Mr. Jim says 90 in Vermont. That's like being 20 in South Texas. I know. And it's supposed to be in about 5 days from now. We're supposed to be up to 90. And then it gets back down into the 50s. So we got wild temperature swings. Like Mason, the mahogany I tried seemed to have little seams and cracks. I like triple flow better. Yeah. Mahogany is snap and half-ish too, so there's that. Did I bring my water? Yes. Hold on a second. I'm starting to get dry throat. Starting to get dry throat, and it's only the beginning of the live stream. Okay. Okay, let's see. My Flintknapping journey is here. Everyone seems to be good. Right? Everyone's doing good? Let's see. What are we talking about here about royal stuff? What am I missing? I think I've read all those. I'm going to double tap my own live stream. Double tap and say thank you or whatever by liking it. You don't even need to comment. You just hit the like button or double tap if you like it. Is it better to do indirect percussion on mahogany or regular percussion on mahogany obsidian? I like indirect percussion, definitely, for mahogany obsidian. Anything that's delicate, I can control my forces better. I don't do well with direct percussion when it comes to being persnickety and gentle. I don't get any good results when I try to be gentle with regular percussion. With direct percussion, I can be more gentle and more precise, more accurate, and I can vary the forces and angles a lot better with indirect percussion. And that is vital when you're working something like a snap and half-ish stuff like obsidian. Especially mahogany obsidian. Yeah. Sal got some English flint. I did not see that. I still got dry throat. Hold on. Billy Elliott says a giant's causeway in Ireland and Scotland is made from columns of basalt. Jack, have you ever seen them? They cooled under pressure and formed straight lines in basalt. I have not seen them, yeah. Basalt usually does not knap well. So if you're thinking about knapping basalt, you have to get the fine-grained stuff. And usually they don't build with the fine-grained stuff. Hey, Val is here. Hey, Val. Good to see you. Let's see here. Yeah, there's not many female nappers, and it's always nice when we have one in the chat. And I know Val personally, so this is cool. Let's see. All right, so I don't see questions, right? Let me see if I missed some. Sal's here? Yeah. Blades and Points by SGP is Sal. He's got live streams too, so if I'm not doing live streams up to your standards, just go to watch Sal. All right. Let's see here. Let's see if we can do something with natural tools, shall we? Before we lose our entire audience.
Yeah, dude, you're not supposed to be schmoozing on the live streams. Even though that's what you're supposed to do, don't do it.
I can't win, really, with people on the internet. With the average person on the internet. They don't like it when it's something they can't relate to. You got to keep it very generic, very simple. No inside jokes. No talking to people that you know. Just keep everything basic so that 5-year-olds can understand what's going on. But no, I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I'm not going to do it that way. Ready? I'm going to try to thin this down. It takes off so much of the edge. It's unbelievable. Just to get that kind of flake, I got to take off a lot of edge. That's what bums me out about this. Yeah. And this is grinding down pretty easily. So, I mean, the edge is tough enough for me to get some good flakes. I need to switch over to a billet, yeah, because the hammerstone. And, you know, some people say, yeah, dude, the hammerstone you use is too hard. That's why it's not working. That's why you're not doing it right. Yeah, but I'm used to these hard hammerstones. It's just not cooperating. Okay, so let me use a billet. Let's try the new equipment. This or this? Yeah, this one seems a little bit better. Yeah, and then get the swing going. See if the swing increase the speed on it. Oh yeah. Beginner's luck, I know. All right. But maybe I can get into the zone with this. It's axis deer. See, it's got a little vein in it. That's how you can tell if you can't tell by anything else, because it looks kind of like white-tailed deer almost. Or maybe fallow deer too. Anyways, it's very dense, heavy. Axis deer, A-X-I-S. It's becoming increasingly common as a hunted animal in the United States. It's an exotic. Different rules for exotics. Yeah. There's no closed season for most of the exotics. So you can hunt them all year round. Yeah. And people do. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong on that, but I think there's no closed season on exotics. See, I'm holding it way back here so I can get some good speed on the swing. It still takes off too much of the edge, but it's still thinning it, so that's the good thing. That's the good part. Let's see, it's not messing this up too much. So I think it's a combination of, it's a good piece of stone, and the billet is nice and dense. So I have a good feeling about this. The hammerstone wasn't doing it. It was just way too aggressive. Okay. I got to prepare the edge a little bit better, be more persnickety. As it gets thinner, I have to be more careful. All right. Where's the next big hit? Where is it? Let's thin down the tip a little bit more first. Yeah. That was cool. See, that one only took a little bit off the edge. Now, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I like that. Yeah. Just like that. I like it. If we can do that a lot, that would be awesome. All right, let's see. No, it just crushed it. Let's move over a little bit then. I hit it in exactly the right spot, but it didn't do it. How about that? Yeah. Cool. Alrighty then. Alrighty. All right, let's see. Let's see if we can do another one of those. Yes? Almost. Yes? Yeah. Good enough. Oh, yes. All right, so here we go. Let's continue. Too much off the edge. Still not technically in the zone. I know I'm in the zone when I don't take off too much of the edge and everything gets thinned down nicely. That's when I'm in the zone. I'm still overhitting. Yeah, like that. That's what it's supposed to do. Just a little bit off the edge and a lot of thinning. So that means I gotta swing fast and just barely hit the edge. Yes? Yes. And remember, these are brand new tools, so I haven't used them yet. Okay. Are we ready yet? Yeah. Yeah, it crushed there and it crushed here. So, you know, I gotta be a little more persnickety and grind the edge a little bit more. Like I'm not supposed to do, because they say Antler is supposed to grab sharp edges. It doesn't need to be ground all that much for Antler. That's what internet culture says. Don't believe it. Yeah, like that. See? Gotta grind it a little bit more than usual. Yeah, like that. Yeah, like that. Come on. You can do it. Maybe that's a job for Indirect flaker. Yeah. Don't worry, it'll start getting thin in a little while. What is it? Oh yeah, I get it. I keep banging up against my stand for my chin-up bar. That's what that noise is when I drop the billet. It's bumping against the stand. Come on. Do it. Still have to take too much off the edge. So I'm just telling you what's happening, right? Trying to explain what's going on, but I should just nap it without explaining. So I can get in the zone a little bit better. I'm trying to thin this down more than it already is. The hardest part of Flintknapping is to thin down something that's already kind of thin. In my opinion, that's the hardest part of Flintknapping. And it gets harder with these natural tools. Yeah. I'm used to starting with something small and expecting to conserve a lot of material. You know, I expect to start with something small and maximize it, because that's what I do with my other tools. It's hard to do that strategy with natural tools. And you can see it in the artifact record as well. A lot of the preforms for certain types of points start out really big, but the final piece is much smaller than the preform. Or I should say the biface. It's not a preform until it starts to look like the finished piece. But anyways, you'd be amazed on how big some of these pieces start out when using natural tools. When the Native Americans were using natural tools, you see the bifaces, and then you see the finished points, and there's a big difference. That's because natural tools are usually fatter on the contact areas, and so they won't break. And that means they take more off the edge. They can't be as precise. So that's the first stage. All right. The first stage of thinning, that's a preliminary thinning. I did the first stage of reducing it from a rock to a biface. And now I did some thinning on it. Now the next part is secondary thinning to refine it. And I tend to use indirect percussion for that. But see, I took off looks like most of the bad areas. Everything looks to be like good material now. And we can proceed to just worry about the thinning part. And that's it. Without having to worry about cracks or cortex or any of the nasty stuff in the middle that was there. Yeah. Okay. And I like this billet because I can swing it fast and it's nice and dense and it's not very heavy. It's dense, but it's not that heavy. It's kind of narrow compared to my other. See, I have a large whitetail billet there and a medium whitetail billet. Yeah. I call that a large. It's not really that large. And then a medium. These are whitetail. This is not the one I usually use. Where is it? I don't know. This one's a new one, I think. Anyways, I don't know where my other one went. That's what happens when I start modifying my tools. I lose some of them. Okay, anyways, let's clean up a little bit before the next stage. And I'll check the chat. Because the next stage is a different mindset. In case you're new, you don't know, I split my knappings into phases. When it feels like I need to use different skills to proceed, I call it a different phase or different stage and a different mindset. Okay? All right. Yeah, I'm one of those guys that agrees with the archaeologists when they say there are different stages. I agree. There's different stages to these pieces. And the difference is in the mindsets and skill sets and whatnot. Explore Nation X says peacock feathers are cool. Yeah. Peacock wing feathers, they're like a light brown or a cinnamon color. That's what you use for fletching. Don't try to use the tail feathers if that's what you're talking about. You can use tail feathers from, different birds that are bigger, but tail feathers tend to be a little bit weak. You can still use them. I don't know. I do use tail feathers for some of my arrows. Why only some? Well, when I do reproductions of Native American arrows, sometimes they used to use tail feathers. So I use tail feathers on that kind of arrow. Talking about crows. My crows are idiots, or they're just not, they don't care. Around here, we got lots of crows, but they don't act smart. They act like they're always ticked off. I was telling my sister, yeah, the crows that come in the yard and, you know, mooch off of whatever I'm feeding the squirrels and other birds. They just come in and they act like they're all cranky. They start walking around like they own the place. As soon as they see me, they take off and they look in the windows to make sure I'm not watching them. They'll take off if they see me in the window. They don't bring me little gifts like little shiny things. My sister said they should bring you like little gifts. Like, you know, they find stuff like bottle caps and cool stuff. They bring it. Yeah, right. They're too skittish around here. And they're too cranky. And they act like dummies. I try to be nice to them, but they just fly away. As soon as they see me advancing toward them, they're out of there. Faster than any other bird. Let's see. Talking about crows. I like crows, yeah. They don't like me. Carly says, I try my best. They might not like doing their horrible. Okay. You guys are talking to each other, which is fine. If you have questions, I'm looking for questions. If I don't see your question, that means I had a brain fart and you got to ask the question again. Midbar says, much of the old basalt axe heads were ground. Talk about patience. It's what I have to do to the Northwest Arizona stuff, but granite makes a nice grinding base. Yeah, it can. I don't like granite as a grinding stone. Bobby Estes, what kind of material am I using? This is Cobden. Jim Maine gave me this. Cobden. Cobden? Yeah. This is a flake from earlier. Come on. Dropping rocks on my phone. Cobden. It's a good material. Yeah, it naps well. All right, so I don't see questions. I don't see them. I don't even see any jokes. It's a sausage fest. Of course it is. We're turning rocks into weapons. Of course it's a sausage fest. Carly says the crows are fresh around here. They mess with the eagles and osprey. It makes me laugh about how bold they are. Yeah, they act like they own the place. That is true. Coral, how do I heat treat? Start at 450 degrees Fahrenheit with coral. Yeah, dry it out for 24 hours at 200 degrees. And then you advance the heat up. After 24 hours at 200 degrees, you can crank the heat up 50 degrees per hour until you get to 450 degrees. Then you leave it at 450 degrees for 4 hours. And then turn it off, let it cool down slowly. Try knapping it. If it doesn't chip well, you've got to increase the heat next time. Ramp it up again until you hit 500 degrees. Let it cool down. Turn it off, let it cool down. Then try chipping it. Still doesn't do it? Crank the heat up next time to 550 degrees and let it sit there for 4 hours. Why do I say only 4 hours? Because I don't want you to spend your entire electric bill budget on heat treating stones. Some people let it sit and soak at like 500 degrees for 5 days or something ridiculous like that. Unless you got money to spend on your electric bill, I suggest only let them soak for 4 hours at a time. But that's just me. If it doesn't nap at 500 and some odd degrees heat treatment, you got to ramp it up again to a hotter temperature. And keep doing that until you reach the temperature needed for your type of stone, because every stone is different. Okay? All right. Yeah, what am I talking about ramping it up? What's this device? What is this mysterious device that you ramp up? You can use a turkey roaster. You can use your kitchen oven. You can use a kiln. Or you can even use a barbecue grill with a temperature gauge. Yeah, I've seen guys cook stone, so to speak, in a barbecue grill because they're expert barbecuers, and it has a temperature gauge on it. I recommend a temperature gauge for everything. If you've got an insulated lid on a turkey roaster for one, the dial you use on the turkey roaster isn't going to reflect the proper temperature. You need to drill a hole in the side near the rim, upper rim of the turkey roaster, install a temperature gauge so you know the correct temperature. Anyways, some guys have figured out how to use a wood fire to heat stone. But, you can use your kitchen oven. You can use a turkey roaster. A kiln is best. Okay? Because you can program it and it'll do it for you. You don't have to sit there and ramp it up every 30 minutes or whatever it is. Or you don't have to, set an alarm for yourself and ramp it up. Heat treating is very complicated. We try to make it so that it's not rocket science when we explain it, but sometimes it gets as complicated as rocket science. Yes. And you have to experiment with your type of stone. Okay? Not very many people have figured out how to heat treat their stones perfectly. The ones that do are selling it. Okay? And yes, I recommend buying the heat treat from people that know what they're doing rather than doing it yourself. But, if you got the kilns and you got the equipment or whatever, just, knock yourself out. Also, important here, don't use sand or filler in the turkey roasters or kilns or oven in your kitchen. You don't need it. Yeah. Okay? All right. What else we got? Whoops. Yeah, Sal knows how to modify the turkey roasters. He knows how to work with the dials and stuff, right? If you're good at hacking the turkey roasters, you're going to be way ahead of most people. Royal Browski says, is it better to smack the indirect copper rod with ultra-weight molecular plastic or order Antler billet? The ultra-high molecular weight plastic is much better than the Antler billet. Much better. Why? Because it doesn't wear out. I've used mine for over 10 years. Right? I think I've used the same one for 10 years. Maybe not that long. But there's no way I could use my favorite elk billet on hitting a copper indirect, because it wears it out in less than 1 year. It's not like my ultra high molecular weight plastic. That's a good question. Just use the plastic. Now, if you want to go natural tool, the natural tool route, you're going to have to use stuff that wears out. Yeah. Or should I just order an Ishi stick? I recommend ordering as many things as you possibly afford and then figure out what works best for you. Try everything. So the answer is to all these questions, should I try this? Should I try that? Should I buy this? Should I buy that? The answer to all that is yes. And experiment. And then whittle your kit down to the bare necessities after that. And then what do you do with all these extra tools? You make friends by giving them away. Yeah, you give them away and people will like you. How do I know? I don't know. Hey, Billy Elliott. Jack, can I link a picture or video of these black axe heads on this video after you finish it? No, you have to do it in the community. Go to the community. Yeah. go to this area where it says community. Go to my channel. It's got that banner with the glass arrowheads. That's my channel. And then you find where it says community. Hit that button. And then you can create a post. Create post. You hit that. And then what's on your mind? You can type brain dead. And then you pick a picture or a video from what's on your phone. This particular phone only has 3 photos on it. But your phone probably has a bunch of stuff. You just pick one of those. And it does that. And you can hit the post button. Easy peasy. Okay? Get some lemon squeezy. And do the easy peasy. Okay? All right. I'm going to discard this. Got it? If not, you can rewind the live stream. Yeah. You can watch that over and over again until you figure it out. Or memorize it. You're old? Yeah. Welcome to the old club, because I'm old too. Even I can figure that out too. You know, if I can do it, like they say, if I can do it, you can do it. Roy says, Roy Olbrowski, how do I get a plastic billet like yours? On eBay. Yeah. Just type in UHMW rod. Or UHMW, yeah. UHMW rod, 1 1/4 inch diameter. And search for that. And you can buy either white or black. And they usually come in 3-foot sections. So you'll be able to make 3 mallets. Right? Is that what you're looking for? Did you say billet or mallet? It's called a mallet. You said billet. You don't use the plastic billet. You don't use the plastic for a billet. I'm thinking that you need to use it for the mallet. Right? Now, if you meant billet, then the whole conversation is wrong what I told you. You do not use plastic for billets. Like if this is a billet for hitting the stone, you don't use plastic for hitting the stone. You use plastic for hitting the indirect percussion flaker. I hope that's clear. I didn't even think of that. Okay. And if I seem like I'm picking on somebody, or if it seems like I'm picking on you, I apologize. I don't want to pick on anybody unless they're acting like a 7-year-old when they should be acting like an 18-year-old, or at least an adult. And you're not. You're asking good questions. Alrighty. Aaron says, I use my heaviest full copper bopper. It works great. Yeah, some people use their boppers to hit the indirect percussion sticks or whatever they're using. One-Eyed Dog says, I never figured out the heat treat. I've been attempting it in the old school method under a fire for years. It's hit or miss. Yeah, I mean, of course. I haven't had much success with the under the fire heat treats either. I heat treat, if I'm using an open fire to heat treat, I just arrange the rocks around the fire. Once it dies down and the coals are steady, I arrange the rocks I want to heat treat around the fire in the open. But you can't have any breezes or wind going through there, and you got to keep feeding it coals. You don't feed it wood. You feed the heat treat fire with the coals from another fire. You bring in coals and keep the fire steady. It's a lot of sitting by the fire, but yeah, it only takes an hour to heat up the rocks. And then you let it cool down slowly. And make sure there's no drafts. Like you have to be within a lodge or a shelter. Okay? And scientifically, they've done tests on this stuff. It only takes an hour at a steady temperature to cause what they call thermal alteration of the stone. Now, you can cheat and use a temperature gauge on what you're doing when you heat it with natural fires, you know, instead of an artificial fire like maybe a gas fire or whatever. If you're using coals and wood and all that kind of stuff, you can use a temperature gauge, which I do recommend, but after a while you can kind of get used to how hot it needs to be just by the feel, like they used to do back in the day. I think a lot of Indians would just heat the chips and flakes and spalls around the fire, just like cooking meat, at a certain temperature for a certain period of time and get a good result. And the coincidence is the stones heat treat or become thermally altered at the same temperatures that you would normally cook meat. What a coincidence. Yeah. All right. So you can cook meat besides the stone, and you can keep track of the heat that way, I think. All right, Bobby SD Super Chat, $1.99. What's all that, what is all that funny faces for? What is that? One-Eyed Dog says, good tip, lots of babysitting. I'll keep that in mind next time I don't have a roaster. Temperature gauge would be a good investment. Yeah, a temperature gauge, one for a barbecue grill, they're only like $14 on Amazon. I mean, they're cheap. Well, no. I think it was less than $10 for the last one I bought. Or I bought two of them, and they turned out to be less than $10 each. Something like that. They were not expensive, those temperature gauges. They go up to 500 or 600 degrees at least. I think, make sure it goes up to above 600 degrees. That way you know what you're dealing with. Yeah. Make sure the temperature gauge goes to at least 600. I would recommend maybe 800 degrees, just so you can make sure that you're not overheating. Billy Elliott says, cool, I never knew they could heat treat stones. Can I look for evidence visually in Ireland to see if we were heat treating too? Is there a tell? The only tell that I can think of that's obvious is a color change in the stones, other than the fact that they get glossy. If you know that what stone the artifact was made from, but it doesn't look like the same color as the usual stones that you find of that type, then it could be heat treated and it could have changed color with the heat treat. But just fair warning, not all stones will change color with heat treatment, but it still might be heat treated. The only tell that is for sure 100% accurate is if there is a color change. Then yeah, you know that it has some kind of thermal alteration. But other than that, you can't tell. Yeah. Not for sure. You got to have some kind of scientific testing device in order to make sure. And no, you can't do it just by chipping it, because sometimes the natural stones without heat treatment chip really well, and it seems like they're heat treated when they're not. Okay? So don't get too excited. Let's see. Ross asks, have you ever heat treated kaolin? Everything we've got around Carbondale is Cobden and kaolin. Yeah, I've heat treated kaolin, right? Yeah, it works pretty good. As far as I know, I think kaolin will heat treat nicely. I think I've worked kaolin raw too. If all you got is kaolin and Cobden, I mean, you're in heaven. That'd be awesome. Natural patina. Natural patina on something that's heat treated? I don't know. The patina on heat treat is the same as a patina on a non-heat treat. Let's see. Yeah, the change in color, either a change in the cortex, if it's a cortical flake that's been heat treated, the cortex sometimes changes color, but the stone doesn't change color. The color change is what gives you a certainty that it is heat treated. Have you ever treated leverite? Oh yes, I always heat treat leverite, always, and I'm not even kidding, because I want to see if it actually works. Because if it works on leverite, you've just doubled your rock supply. What is leverite? Don't worry about it. You worry too much. All right, let's see. And heat treatment has been around for over 70,000 years. 70,000 years. So that everybody knew about it, and people rediscovered it. Even if the technology was lost, they'd rediscover it by accident, and they would go, "Oh wow, man, this is awesome! I accidentally left my tool stone next to the fire, and I thought it was gonna be all nasty, but it actually works better by accident. Why didn't my grandpa tell me?" Yeah, sometimes the knowledge doesn't get passed down, but most of the time it does. All right, I think that's it, right? Yeah. All right, let's get back to this. I'm going to start using my new Axis deer antlers as indirect percussion flakers. This one looks like it'll be good. Okay, let's try this. All right, let's see. What time is it? How long have I been on? I've been on for an hour, so we got an hour left to try to finish this. Okay, so I'm going to use this as an indirect percussion flaker, this Axis deer antler. Nice and straight. One of the straightest ones I had in my collection, because now I have a collection of Axis deer, thanks to a friend of mine named Larry. Ooh, nice. I think we're cooking with gas. Let's just see. No, I think that was the beginner's luck again. Yeah, we're going to thin this down with indirect percussion. If I can get in the zone, and we're going to be... If I can get in the zone and not break this antler flaker, we'll be in business. Yeah. So I'm going to work on the tip first, just to check it out, because I only need little flakes on the tip. So we'll build up to using more force in a minute. And there's always a possibility that I'm going to break the antler. Yeah, it's not like copper, it's not very strong, but it is effective once I get the hang of it. Yeah, I got kind of distracted answering the questions about heat treat. Yeah, but it's important. You can double and triple your supply just by your knowledge of heat treatment. Okay, so we gotta stop being so aggressive with this. All right. Look what I did. I get too excited. All right. Yeah, I get too excited and it starts working too well. Take off too much. Yeah, like that. Perfect. Beautiful. Fantastic. Just like that. Did they use this stuff back in the day? These indirect percussion techniques? Well, if they did not, they must have practiced a lot with direct percussion, more than I have. Because I can't get this kind of stuff with direct percussion. I can't get these kinds of flakes. Especially not like that, with that kind of accuracy. So yes, I think they used indirect percussion of some sort. This is a horizontal punch. They may have used vertical punches, and I made one. This is a vertical punch. I was going to use this for basic notching. But yeah, you hit this punch with it. Now you can do that on the sides too. I just never do it on the sides like this for long flakes, but it can be done. The reason why I don't do it is because I can't see. I can't see what I'm doing when I do this. See, my fingers cover everything up. But this way I can see everything. That's one reason. Another reason is I can really drive those flakes. I got follow through. Follow through. I don't do this on my leg because it'll hit my leg and it's useless for me. I need that follow through. Yeah, so I can make big mistakes. If I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to make them big. Yeah, just like I did up here on the tip. I need to be able to generate lots of force because I work on nasty materials. Yeah, I'm not interested in always working high-grade stuff. Because if you just work high-grade stuff all the time, you're not really exploring how they used to do it. Because they did work some tough materials back in the day. They tended to look for the best materials, but they didn't always have it. So and occasionally you do find artifacts made of really nasty stuff. So how did they work those? If you really want to research how they made them back in the day, you've got to figure out how did they work the stones that were cruddy. I've heard guys tell me just to work the nice stones, man, and start doing it right. I said, what use is that? I know that you can have good results with good stones. The trick is getting good results with bad stones. That's the trick. Yeah. So I need more. If I'm like this, I get a restricted movement here and a restricted movement here. So why restrict myself? Especially when I work nasty stuff. That's why I do it this way. Okay? All right. And yeah, I break a lot of antlers because I hit them so hard, but that's just part of the game. If you're going to work nasty stuff, you're going to abuse the tools. Yeah. Just goes with the territory. Okay, come on. You can do it. Yes. I knew it could do it. Let's try to get some nice smooth flaking. It didn't do the smoothness. Nope. We'll get it. We'll try to get in the zone here eventually. Yes? Yeah. That's a little bit better. This is actually good material, right? Even with good material, it can be difficult. I'm also getting used to this new Axis deer antler tool. It's a little bit more aggressive than whitetail, but I can see already that it's starting to chip a little bit. It's a little bit more brittle than whitetail deer that I normally use. Whitetail deer antler. I don't use much moose for two reasons. One, I crack the moose antler easily. And number two, it's highly expensive. I don't want to spend that much money on stuff I don't have to spend it on. Whitetail deer antler usually does the trick. Don't need moose. And now that I've got Axis deer, I could do stuff like that. Nice big old long flakes. Yeah, like that. I think I like it. Yes, I gotta clean this up. It still looks a little bit crunchy. And I tend to abrade the whole edge, so I don't have to come back and forth and abrade this little piece and then hit it, and abrade this little piece and then hit it and then abrade this. It just extends the time that I'm doing this. So I go around and I don't abrade each spot a lot. I just abrade a lot of spots. That's why it takes me longer to abrade when I abrade. But I abrade a lot of spots. And some people say, you abrade a lot. Well, I abrade a lot of spots. It's not really abrading a lot in each spot. It's just that I abrade the whole edge. It actually saves time because I can now work the whole edge without having to pick up that abrader every single time I want to take a flake. Got it? Got it. Yes. This is getting a little bit chipped. Hold on. If this gets too chipped and pitted, it doesn't make good contact. So it's got to be nice and smooth. And it doesn't gum up the hammerstone, which is good. The axis steer doesn't gum up the hammerstone or the abrader like other Antler will. Come on. There you go. Yeah, I noticed that the axis steer Antler does sand down easily without gumming things up. Some guys can do all this with direct percussion. If you can, go ahead and do it that way. I just find it more difficult with direct percussion. And I have more breakages. Yeah, it looks like we're getting the same problem as before with other tools. It just starts to dive in. Once it gets too flat, the flakes start to dive in. That's okay. We'll get it. We'll get it fixed up here in a little bit. We'll just have to make it more narrow, that's all. Or stop thinning it. But no one wants to see me stop thinning it. They want to know how they thinned it back in the day. This is the hardest part of all of Flintknapping, so I might just zone out and not talk. I have to focus on this part. If I don't pay attention, I will break it. I'm trying to thin this down with strikes that could break it at any moment. But that's how they used to do it back in the day. I'm convinced that they took a lot of risks to get this stuff thinned down. And they would break a lot. Yes, that's just the price you pay for trying to thin it down. You can't change the physics of the whole thing. Thinning takes risks. It requires risk. Okay. It is starting to get really thin for what I'm doing. See, what I'm trying to do is thin it down with hard strikes with Antler, with powerful strikes with Antler. It's going to rip off a lot of the edge in many cases because the Antler tip it's compressible. It pulls on the stone. It's spongy, even though it seems to be kind of brittle. It's still a little bit spongy, and that sponginess is enough to, you know, just rip off part of the edge. Yeah. But we just learn to live with it and keep going. And the more I use the natural tools, the better I get at keeping the surfaces smooth. Right now I got a bunch of little step fractures and stuff because I'm still not practiced enough. Still not accurate enough to try to avoid those. The flakes are going to do what they're going to do, but I can increase my accuracy. Yeah, so I can do the damage control. See, that flake dove in a lot. So I took a flake from the other side to clean it up. And now I can see the extent of the diving. I got to watch out that I don't do that in the future here as I'm trying to thin this. How do I avoid that? By not trying to send the flake so far across. Like I got spoiled earlier by trying to send flakes, or I did send big flakes across earlier. So I got spoiled and I'm thinking, yeah, I could do that again. Sure, why not? Nope. It doesn't always work. If it doesn't like it, it starts to dive in. So I got to keep it convex. Yeah. With more practice, you can make the surface smoother. It's really steppy right now. And people ask me, how do you avoid step fractures? And I've tried to answer that question over the years with different answers. And I've come to realize that you just have to increase your accuracy and not try to do more than your skill allows you. Don't think that just because you can imagine good flakes that they will magically happen, if you can imagine them. Some people can imagine beautiful flakes and they get upset that it doesn't happen. Yeah. You could have, you know, your expectations have to match your skill. Just because you can imagine good flakes doesn't mean that it's going to happen. All right? All right. I know it's simple, but the brain wants to do what it can imagine. I'm trying to clean that up and it's not working that great. Oh well. I'm getting long flakes, but they don't terminate by feathering. They start to dive every time I do that. But it's good. I get to see the limits of what I can do. And then I'll start backing off and not trying so hard. Yeah, these flakes are not traveling the same way as I'm used to. For some reason I'm losing some energy, or I'm just not preparing the edges in the best possible way. I'm abrading a lot. It may be also that I lose energy because this gets pitted easily and gets kind of chipped easily. So that affects the way the flakes look. If this gets chipped easily, it affects the way the flakes look, because it doesn't make good contact with the edge. And you lose energy. And the flakes don't travel like they should, etc., etc. I'm also trying to be thin. I'm trying to get this really, really thin, and that's not that easy. The surface has to be just right to get it really thin. And the surface obviously is kind of rough and chaotic. Let me see. No, see, if I try to back off a little bit, they don't go anywhere. That's pretty thin. I should just try my pressure flaker instead of trying to do everything with the indirect percussion. I think that if I had started more narrow, it would have looked a little smoother. But who knows? Let's see. I might be able to damage control this. No? No, it's not doing it. It's not as easy to damage control with this antler as it is with copper. Yeah, this is going to keep getting more and more narrow and more narrow. If it gets too narrow, then the width to thickness ratio doesn't improve. Just stays the same. The ratio stays the same. It gets more narrow, but it doesn't get thinner. It just stays thinner by comparison. The ratio stays the same, which is not what you want. You want the ratio to improve. You know, the width to thickness ratio. You want it to improve as you're thinning. You don't want to lose so much of the edge that the width decreases a lot and you lose a good ratio. I'm wondering if it would be this crunchy if I used copper when it got this thin. A lot of these pieces, I think, in the archaeological record are thick and beveled. They might have encountered the same kind of situation where it gets really crunchy as you try to thin this. I'm not all that familiar with Cobden and its crunchiness, so I might just be trying to do something I can't do. It might not be possible to keep it smooth at this thinness. Switch over to pressure. All right. This is my punch. This is for heavy pressure. Okay, let's switch over to pressure. So that's about as thin as I can get it. It's really crunchy trying to get it this thin with the tools I'm using. And it could be that it could probably do the same thing with copper. I'm just not sure. But in the past, I have not had this issue with copper as much, where it dives a lot like this. But I think what I'm trying to do is flakes that are too big and too long. I'm trying to do long flakes with this Antler tool. I should probably just stick with the shorter flakes. Anyway, we're going to switch over to pressure. Let's see how that works. And these are all my new Axis Deer tools. That's my indirect percussion flaker. Not supposed to use that one. Yeah, a little bump right there. I'm going to take that bump out with a piece of copper. Don't tell nobody. Use my copper spatula tool to get that bump. I'm not going to be able to get that with Antler. It's going to mess me up if I don't get rid of it. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I did. That's one thing I did not do today. I did not make a slotted pad for this. I need to make a slotted pad for my natural tool kit, so the flakes will run freely instead of hitting the pad. Probably cut a slot in this pad. I normally don't use the slotted pads, but I've gotten used to them. I mean, I normally didn't when I started using natural tools. I began as a natural tool napper, and I did not use slotted pads because I was breaking everything. But back in those days, everyone had flat slotted pads. All my pads are domed now, and I had a lot more success with domed pads. But I'm going to add slots to the domed pads. That's one of my next tasks for next week. Hopefully I'll have a new set of pads. Yeah, I'm liking this Axis Deer Antler for pressure flaking. It slips a little bit and it's a little bit more brittle, but it's working. Yeah. I can drive some flakes with this. Yeah. Sometimes the antlers are too soft to drive good flakes. The stone will eat the antler for lunch, so to speak. I'm gonna make sure I don't install a curve on that one. And some people don't like to see me struggle with the new tools. They'll change the channel because I'm not napping perfectly because I'm struggling. But you're going to see me learn and adapt in real time. That might be useful for some people, but yeah. For entertainment, it's boring, or it's aggravating watching someone learn. But, oh well. And yeah, it's a subtle difference, but these subtle differences can make all the difference in the result. So I got to learn to use this axis steer. Okay. I got to make sure I don't install a curve in this. I saw one developing, so now I got to make sure I remove material from the rounded side. So stay straight. Yeah, like that. I got to be careful up here near the tip, because I could pull the tip right off. And I could push a little bit too hard and the tip will come right off. But it looks like it's working all right. Yeah, I just got to work on the symmetry here in a little bit. But I'm getting the tip taper down, and I'll be doing the same thing down here on the base in a little bit. Right? And then I'll put the notches in. And then I'll do the final sharpening if it needs it. Hour and 38 minutes. We got time. I'll go over the 2-hour mark. I want to be able to finish this, and I'll show you how it's hafted. Yeah. Yeah, I'll do a simulated hafting. I'm liking this antler. It doesn't get eaten for lunch. Yeah, it stands up to the stone pretty good. Yes, yes. Some antler will just, a lot of the antler will get deposited on the edge. This one does not. Yeah, so that helps with the heavy pressure. I can apply heavy pressure with this. Yeah, it doesn't eat the antler for lunch. Nice. And one of the corners got, reduced quite a bit, so that's why I'm reducing the other corner. It's for symmetry reasons. Yeah. Trim this back for symmetry also. Just simple downward flakes. But if you hear crunching, that means it's getting dull. So I can't be doing the crunching too much. And yeah, I abrade it before I use the Antler, but that's so I can run nice flakes. I don't want to be dulling it with this. I want to be sharpening it and thinning it with the Antler and dulling it with the abrading stone. You know what I mean? Although I can dull it with the Antler too. I can brush the edge and dull it. It's just, it's more efficient to dull it with the stone. Okay, all right. Let's try to do some final thinning up here. All right, maybe some heavy pressure this time. Make sure I get a nice smooth surface on the pressure flaker. And I don't use sandstone that much unless I feel I have to. If this quartzite is not working that well, I'll use a sandstone. But it seems to be working good. Yeah, that was a good one. A little bit, maybe too much. See, I just took off this flake right there. I pushed right there. It took that off. Maybe a little too much. With heavy pressure. Same with that one, heavy pressure. It takes off some good flakes. Heavy pressure requires, you know, more physical strength. And you can use your legs too, but I'm way out here next to my knees so that you can see what I'm doing. If I can add more leg pressure if I'm down here, but it's hard to see what I'm doing. It's hard for you to see and hard for me to see. So I'm not using all that much pressure, in other words. But it is what I call heavy pressure because the flakes are larger than normal for pressure. Okay? All right. You know, the heavy pressure flakes look very similar to small percussion flakes. It's another way to look at it. Come on. I gotta... This one's more sharper. Still doesn't do it. Come on. Yes. I shouldn't be doing this yet. If I make the tip too fragile at this stage, I could snap it off by accident. Just by working other parts of the point, I could hit that pad, or I could hit my leg or something with the very tip. But I just wanted to see if I could do it. And yeah, it thinned it down pretty good. I may have to take this little spot out with percussion. I need that spot removed there. And if I do a heavy pressure flake, it's not gonna do it, I don't think, with just pressure. And there's a lump on this side too. Lump here and lump there. I could just leave it in, or I could attempt to flatten those with percussion. The lesson I learned earlier is that if I try to do too much with percussion, I get this sort of thing. I get diving flakes. And yes, I can get diving flakes up here too, if it's too flat. Now this is a pressure flake here, as far as I remember. So I might be able to clean that up a little bit with a pressure flake from right here. Maybe. Maybe. I'll check the chat in a little bit, in case there's a question. Let me set this up. I'm going to try to do a big pressure flake there. But it's going to, it might ruin the symmetry, but oh well. I want to see if I can do a heavy pressure flake right there. That's effective. No. The flake got removed too fast. I wasn't able to seat the tool enough to generate a big flake. It went, that was my last one right here. This one here, that's my last one. I pushed on this edge right there and popped it off, but it stopped right in front of that. I'm going to try it again from the other side. From right here, I guess. This area right there. Push on that after I abrade this. After I scratch it a little bit. Get rid of the delicate areas and I'll abrade it with the stone. I probably should do it with a percussion strike, but I'm going to try it with pressure. Nothing. Yeah, that one did something. It didn't go far enough, though. See, that was this flake right there. It didn't go far enough to remove that lump. Can that lump be removed? Yeah, I can take a copper percussion tool and clean that up and remove those lumps, because copper is more accurate. I can get more accurate with the Antler the more I practice. I just don't use Antler that much. That's my excuse. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try to minimize that with a piece of copper. Hold on. Just gonna try to minimize it. See if I can do it. Yeah, it's not going to catch it enough. I thought I might be able to catch it there. Where am I? Why doesn't it focus? I'm trying to catch the front of that step fracture and push this way and fan it out. But it's not enough of a step fracture. Anyway, it's thin enough. It's just not perfect. Yeah. For those who are persnickety, they're not going to like it. That's all right. I'm just going to sharpen the edge and move on. Okay, so now let's do the rest of this. What are we going to do? Well, I'm still going to try to smooth it out if I can, and maybe take a few more flakes in that area. Let's see, how long have I been on? 1 hour and 50 minutes. We still got time. Same overall strategy, regardless if it's natural tools or with copper or metals. It's the same kind of strategy. It's just a little bit different in the use of the tools because they don't act the same. You can achieve the same result with different tools. You just gotta have to get adapted. Your brain has to adapt to the new tool set. All right, let's get the sandstone out and do some more refining on this. Indirect percussion flaker tip. Make it nice and smooth, nice and consistent all the way around. Yeah, that might have helped earlier, but oh well. Let's see if I can do some damage control here. Okay, all right. Yes. All right. See, it did go into that area. Good. For a while for a second there, I thought it was gonna be a nasty step fracture. Yeah, it wants to dive in. But I didn't let it dive too much. As long as I don't try to take off too much. I'm going to use some copper to clean that, try to clean that last little bit off right there. Yes, yeah. See, I just pushed that little lamb bridge that was there off with the copper flaker, but it still dived in. I tried to do damage control in that area with a big flake. It worked okay. Yeah. But it still left little divots. And I still have a lump here, but I'm just going to leave it. Yeah. I can try to drive a flake into, oops. I can try to drive a flake into this area to get rid of that lump. I can drive it in from here, I suppose. Maybe that'll work. Let's see. All right, we'll just patiently walk our way in, little by little. Try to get that lump, but I'm gonna try to send some flakes here first to move the edge this way. If I'm gonna take off some of the width to move the edge this way to attack that obstacle, I might as well send some flakes in through here as I'm reducing this width. Send some flakes in, and then also if I send flakes in here to clean that up a little bit, it will move the edge this way. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm using a sandstone now. A little bit better refinement on the edge when I use sandstone. it helps at this last stage. That's not bad. Yeah. You kind of tell I'm using heavy pressure, which requires more physical strength. I'm going to say that over again. It does require more physical strength to do the heavy pressure. Some guys can't do it because they just don't have enough practice. That's all it is. You just got to practice. Build up some strength. So I'm moving the edge this way, and I'm thinking I can do it now. I can send a flake in to get rid of that lump. I don't need to. It still will work as a projectile point. It's just kind of annoying to have a little lump there, right? If it looks like I can do it, I'll try it. If it doesn't look good, I'll just leave it in there. You know, if that doesn't look convex enough, it might not be convex enough. It might just stop right there because we have a slight dip. Yeah. In fact, I should just leave it. What I will do instead is I'll push on this with the flaker. I'll push on that to get rid of that lump. Yeah. Or to minimize it. It might not get rid of it. Yeah. I don't have enough of a step fracture in front of it. Yeah. So, yeah, just, it reduces it a little bit, but not by much. Let me see. Okay. I could probably do it with a copper indirect percussion flaker, but with Antler, I don't know. It's going to mess up the symmetry. I'm going to try it anyway. Yeah. I don't like it. No. I think I got it. I didn't like it, but it looks like it worked. Yeah, that was kind of risky. I think I got lucky and reduced that lump. Yeah. All right, that makes me feel a little bit better. Yeah. It almost dived in right there. See, this is the last flake. The last flake I did was this right there. And it went here, and then it extended a little bit and went up that lump and took it off. But it almost dived in right there, so that was kind of risky. Lucky that nothing bad happened. Yeah. So yeah, it's thin enough, I think. Let's see. If it's 6:1 or better, it's thin enough. 35 millimeter wide. Right, and then measure the thickness. Is it 5? Might even be 4. No, it's 5. 5 into 35 is 7 to 1. Yeah, thin enough. 7 to 1. Okay, all right, so let's do the notching and then we'll do the sharpening. I'm going to use my brand new notcher, Axis Deer notcher. Yeah, and I can also use this as a vertical punch if I want to do that too, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to pressure notch these notches in. Where's my pad? There it is. All right, there we go. Easy peasy, hopefully. I like the way this Axis Deer was pressure flaking earlier. Let's just see. Is it thin enough? Well, I'll try to get used to it here. Hold on. If I feel like it's strong enough, I will thin this down so I can make the notch more narrow. Yeah, let's make it more. Let's thin this down. Yeah, it's going to take forever. Hold on while I cheat a little bit with the modern file. If not, it's going to take forever to thin that down. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like that. Okay. And I'm using heavy pressure. Which is a little bit risky because it could blow out that barb. Okay. Yeah. Heavy pressure to get those nice pop outs. And this is strong enough, which is good. I can probably thin this down a little bit more, but we won't push our luck. Yeah, like that. Okay. And I like these pistol grip notchers because I can get a lot more leverage when I need it. It's dangerous to use a lot of pressure on notches because it can blow out the sides, but sometimes you can't avoid it. But as long as the notcher itself is pretty narrow and thin, it usually helps. If you can find an antler strong enough for this, that's half the battle. And it looks like the Axis Deer is working pretty good. Axis Deer antler. Yeah. I barely have enough room in there. It's behaving. Yeah. A little bit too much of a tight squeeze. Hold on. I need to get this more narrow. Or thinner. I need to get it thinner. Let's cheat. I'm going to cheat with the sander here. Hold on. right. Otherwise, it takes too long to do this with a stone abrader. Okay. Let's see. We have enough room? Yeah, I have barely enough room in there to do this last pop out. Yeah, like that. Yeah, like that. Yes. Good enough. Don't need to be greedy. Yeah, I don't want to push my luck. I could probably pop out one more flake, but I would need to make this even thinner. Yeah, we'll just be satisfied with that. Yes, yes. Okay, so then now we do the final shaping and sharpening. Does it fit in the haft? Let's see. I wonder. I'm using up. Yesterday I still had these sitting here from yesterday. I took the sinew off, but I still have the foreshafts occupied. Maybe I can use this foreshaft. Yeah. I can show you how it's hafted. I've got to remove some more material though on this. On the stone. Just a little bit more so it doesn't, so the point is not going that way. If I remove a little bit more from this side, it should fit nicely. I think I can take a percussion flake into that area so it'll fit into this. All right, we can use this foreshaft. It's proportional. Yeah. What else could we use? This one? Nice. It's too deep anyway. Well, we could use that one too. And that way I can move it around. We don't even need to mess with the stone at all. I could just use this foreshaft. But I do want to take that last flake anyway, because it's really bulky right there. Yeah, let's just, I'm going to take that last flake there and try to use this foreshaft. Yeah. Okay, all right. Because I'm going to sharpen this anyway, we're going to lose some width. So it'll look proportional. I don't like using foreshafts that are too small or too big in proportion to the size of the point. Okay? All right. So let's prepare this for a percussion strike. I'll check the chat in a minute. I said that earlier, but I forgot. I will check the chat here. Hold on. I want to make sure I don't leave the zone. I want to stay in the zone and make sure I can get this last flake. I'm going to do it with percussion, but I'm going to set it up by using some pressure. Make sure I have enough movement of the edge downward to attack that. See how thick it is right there compared to the other side? It's thick. That's what I want to remove. I want to reduce that. So I'm going to send a flake in, probably 2 flakes. Plan A is here, I think. I can, maybe this is plan A. Either one, I'm going to send 1 or 2 flakes in there, whatever seems to be the best option. I don't know. I'll probably send a pressure flake in there and a percussion flake there. It's too risky to do the percussion flake this close to the end of the barb. So I think I'll do a pressure flake there and a percussion flake there. No, not like that. Yeah, like that. So I took a pressure flake in there, set up that ridge for a big percussion flake. Yeah. So I've got 3. This is the pressure flaker I've been using mainly, and then this is more of a refined pressure flaker, smaller, and this is my percussion tool. They look very similar, they're just different sizes. All right. No, not that. This one. I need to be careful because I don't want to ruin the symmetry with a big old dig off the edge. It might not be avoidable. I might end up taking a big chunk out of the edge, but oh well. Yeah, like that. Beautiful. Yes. Yeah, step fracture. Oh well. Just a little bit. Let's do another percussion flake into there. Set this one up too. Why another one? Because now this looks lumpy now. Yeah. Make sure we got symmetry. See, this goes in on this side, so I have room on this side when I make it symmetrical. So it's okay to take off some of this edge. I just want to make sure get this lumpy area reduced a little bit. Yeah. See how that works. Okay, ready? Yeah, almost ready. Yeah, like that. It doesn't want to do it. Yes. Yeah, with a little more practice, I could get them smoother. But that's good for now. Yeah, that's all right. It almost traveled far enough. It kicked a little flake earlier. Let's see. Let me try to smooth it down with copper, and I'll stop messing with it. That doesn't do it. Yeah, it's not going to do it. Yeah, it's just not quite, the step fractures are not quite bad enough actually to push against. All right, let's see. Let's continue. We'll put some symmetry in there. And we need to sharpen the edge, so here we go. So I'll use this larger pressure flaker for the bigger flakes, and then I'll come back and sharpen it with the smaller pressure flaker. But I'm trying to create the symmetry and shave down the thickness. And I'll come back and I'll use the smaller pressure flaker for the little persnickety sharpening. Yeah. For the little persnickety sharpening flakes. Yeah. Okay, so it fits the foreshaft right. We have no issues. We can get it straight. Yeah. Does it sit straight? The important thing is if it sits straight in the foreshaft, we're in business. It's still, I don't know, is it straight? I think that looks straight. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it looks straight. Straight enough. And yeah, I'll finish sharpening it and shaping it, and then we'll haft it. I've been on for 2 hours and 18 minutes. That's not too bad. Got some crunchiness, but it's 7-to-1 in thick in the ratio, right? 6-to-1 or 7-to-1, something like that. I did reduce the width, so that affects the ratio. It's probably 6-to-1 now and not 7-to-1, because I took a lot of width off just by thinning this area and also by sharpening. Okay. All right, little flakes. Here we go. And there's already dull spots from previous abrading. This is not sharpening down here. This is just trimming it a little bit. Now, these are just little flakes, so I'm overlapping them a little bit so that there's no dull spots in between. It's kind of crushing, but that's all right. I'll get used to it. Come on. Yeah, like that. It doesn't like the little persnickety flakes. It's starting to crush on me. So I'm going to take some aggressive flakes. Yeah. I'll leave it kind of jagged. I think some of these were jagged anyway, these Kirk style points. The edges were kind of jagged on some of these. The important thing is that they get sharp. Yeah. It doesn't like the small little bitty flakes. Yeah, see, if I try to do smaller flakes, it crushes the edge. So I've got to take some bigger ones. Either that or I got to sharpen this more, but it looks, this is pretty sharp as a tip. If I sharpen it any more, I'm afraid it'll snap off. You know, this will break. The antler will break. Anyways. Took too much. A little bit too much off of this side, so now I got to make it symmetrical. So a combination of the sharpening and removing some of these big flakes, I took too much off of this side. So I can't have the clipped wing look to the barbs anymore. Not like I wanted in the beginning. Anyways, yeah. If I get, you know, with more practice, or if I take more time, I could probably get nice little persnickety flakes. But for now, I can't seem to get the smaller flakes without all this crushing. So I'm just going to take bigger flakes and leave it kind of jagged. Okay, all right. Somehow the symmetry is a little bit off, but oh well. Yeah, this is cut back much more than this side. I'm not sure exactly how that happened. So it looks a little crunchy, but it's all right. And the edge is sharp. I just have to make sure I don't miss any of the dull spots that are on there from previous abrading. Yeah. And it just takes more practice to get it smoother. Yeah. Okay. So let's haft it. Yeah. I don't know, still looks, Symmetry looks a little bit off. Yeah, for some reason this keeps getting... I mean, I just took a little bit more off of that, but just to make it look more angled, but it just, for some reason, it doesn't look symmetrical. Let's see, I'm going to deepen that notch maybe. Yeah, I don't want to push my luck. Yeah, my symmetry meter is not working tonight. It still looks non-symmetrical, but oh well. I don't know what to do. Yeah, let's stop messing with it. All right, I'll stop messing with it. I must be getting tired, but I can't seem to get this symmetrical down here. Anyways, here we go. Doesn't need to be symmetrical. It just needs to fit and be straight. Right? Right. Which way does it go? Yes. See, if the center line doesn't match up, it gets on my nerves. It still looks like it's a little bit, the tip still looks like it's going that way a little bit. How do I fix that? I'm removing more of that, but I don't want to remove more of that. Yeah, okay. It'll work. I just need to get going here. So what I do is I use modeling clay. I keep saying I'm going to check the chat, but I haven't checked it yet. Let me check it because I probably missed some questions. Let me see. Buffy Cleveland, where can people buy stuff from you? I have auctions every Monday here on this channel. 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, which is 5 to 8 p.m. Central. Let's see. Are these sharpening passes more downward pressure, or are they, my amateur eyes just not seeing an inward push? They're both, it's like half and half, inward and downward. David Rushing, good job on your win at the crap-in. Yeah, points from a toilet tank. Yeah, I won a contest on napping a point from a toilet tank. Patrick, do you like using deer or elk antler better? Whitetail is better than elk. I like whitetail deer antler better than elk antler. But I use both. Can you make 100 of them? I've made many. It takes me like, let's say, it would take me 20 weeks. If I make 5 a week, obviously I can make at least 5 a week. 1 a day for 5 days. Yeah. If I have to make a lot, how long would it, if I had to make 100 in the shortest amount of time possible, I could do probably in 1 month. 100 in 1 month. Let's see. So yeah, this is axis deer. I'm liking this axis deer antler, but whitetail deer antler is good also. And then my next favorite is elk, and then moose is on the bottom of my list because it's very brittle and it's very expensive. I can imagine ancient knappers using a bow like a big notch-o-matic. You mean a bow and shoot the punch into the workpiece with a bow? Can you just file it down? Yeah, I can file it down. Lose 1/16 with 5 more flakes. Chicken or the egg, bow or the arrow? The arrow came before the bow. The atlatl darts are actually just big arrows. I'm looking for questions, comments, or complaints. Let's see. These are all atlatl dart points, if you want to know. The arrow came first. How do you know when it's done? How do you know when you're done? When it looks done to me? Oh, I can stop at any time. I just want to refine it more. There's no marker on how to tell if it's done because it's your preference. My preference is to keep going. There's 2 reasons why I keep going. One, if it doesn't look symmetrical to me, I'll keep going. And the other reason is people want to see me go as far as possible so they can see the potential. They want to see also what it takes to make it symmetrical. They want me to push the limits. Okay? So I just keep going and keep going and keep going. I don't have to go far, but it makes for very uninteresting content if I just do easy stuff and that's it. If I just make them thick and simple with no notches, who's going to watch that? Not very many. So I push it as far as I can within reason. That's how I know I'm done, when I've pushed it to my limits. Now, if I'm doing points for myself, I leave them a little bit thicker. Yeah. Chad says, whoever invented Flintknapping back in the day changed the world forever. I will name him Ancient Chad. Yeah, it wasn't whoever, it was many hominids back in the day of different species were chipping rocks for various reasons. Some for hunting, some for warfare, some for processing plants. I mean, different reasons and at different time periods in different regions and different hominids. It wasn't just one person. And it wasn't just for one reason either. Once you use a slotted pad, it's hard to go back to a solid one. Oh, yes. Lance knows. Copper is natural tool material, yes, but I try not to use much copper just because people want to see me not use copper. Yeah. Otherwise, I would use it a lot for my natural tool set. Was the self-collected rock video, Lance? What does that mean? Let's see. I made a video a couple days ago on working Tallahassee. Oh, I see. Abo style or natural tool style. I missed your entrance, Lance. You came in a while ago. All right, so I've been online for 2 hours and 35 minutes. I'm going to wrap this up. I just wanted to see if there was some questions, which there was, yes. Yeah, I'm making arrowheads, but these are actually atlatl dart points. They might look like arrow points for arrows because they're in the distance, but they're actually quite large. They're too large for arrows. So these are atlatl dart points with atlatl dart foreshafts. Okay? I'm in the process of hafting this so you can see how it looks hafted. Okay. I took the sinew off of these two. You saw me yesterday, or if you look back on yesterday's video, you can see the sinew on these. I took it off because I reused the sinew. And I use modeling clay to simulate the hafting glue, the natural hafting glue. Okay? All right. Here we go. Today's Friday night. I could take it easy tomorrow. There's nothing. I don't got nothing tomorrow, so I can stay up late. Hopefully you guys can stay up late too, right? Watching me finish this. It's only going to take a few minutes, actually. I say a few minutes, maybe 15 more minutes. So with natural hot melt, you would heat this up over a fire and then use water on your fingers so it doesn't stick to your fingers. The sticky hot melt natural glue. Okay, but this is just modeling clay to make it look like I'm using the hot melt, natural hot melt glue. What is natural hot melt glue? Well, there's different types. There's types made from resin, from evergreen trees like pine trees and spruce. Or you can use asphaltum or bitumen. The modern name now, we use the term gilsonite. Well, gilsonite is actually just from one site in Utah, right? It's mined from the ground instead of being found in the ocean or on beaches. Like they used to find it a lot on beaches back in the day, the asphaltum, because it washed up from tar pits or tar sources under the ocean. Now there's tar pits and tar sources on inland as well, but it was more common to find the asphaltum on beaches back in the day. And the asphaltum was traded between tribes that lived on the coast to tribes that lived further inland. It's a good glue because it's got a higher melting point. It's not going to get really sticky. And it's also more durable when you mix it with some sort of plant resin, but not with pine resin or spruce or whatever. It's still kind of brittle. You can use other types of resins from other plants. One of the big ones that was used was the resin from rubber trees. Okay, mix it with asphaltum and it becomes more durable. Most of these natural glues are highly brittle when they're in a cooled down state. Okay, you don't use sticky pine pitch as an example, when you're making glue out of the pine rosin. If that's what you're going to do, you wait till it gets brittle. After about a year or so of being on the tree or being in storage, the pine pitch becomes hard and brittle, and that's when you want to use it. You don't want to use it when it's all gooey. Okay, all right. When it's all gooey, it doesn't hold these arrowheads in place or that little dart points in place. It doesn't have a firm grip on, the point. So nice smooth transition between wood and stone. That's one of these things that the glue is good for. And now we're going to soak the sinew so we can haft this. Doesn't take very long. And no, I'm not going to chew on it because this stuff's nasty. I haven't hard enough time with stuff not agreeing with me. I've got enough digestive issues and stomachache issues. I don't want to be putting any of this stuff in my mouth. Nope. I know some guys will chew the sinew, but that's fine. If you don't mind, your spit all over your workpiece, knock yourself out. I prefer just to use water. It's much easier, safer. Okay? All right. So yeah, this is backstrap sinew, which is much easier to process than leg sinew. But you can use leg sinew as well. Okay, backstrap comes from the loin of the animal. It's called, butchers call it silver skin from the loin. Right? They call it the loin. Anyways, Let's see. I can go crisscross. Yeah. Now, some of these stems you can just go, you can wrap straight down and not do the crisscross. But this one has little ears on it, so it allows me to do the crisscross type thing. Yeah, so we'll do that. This is actually quite thick, this piece of sinew. But it's all right. They used thick pieces back in the day. It's not a problem. Up over the top. Back down. I need to take my glove off. And then overlap the other previous end of the sinew. And yeah, I say sinew instead of sinew. And they say it's a regional accent, but I never felt comfortable saying sinew. Although I've lived in Texas for a long time. I guess where I grew up, they said sinew. And there's another guy on YouTube that's into survival and all that, and he says sinew the same way I do. And he's from New York, I think, so I feel better now. Yeah. Somebody told me that I say sinew instead of sinew because of an accent. And then I went crazy. How did I get that accent without knowing? Anyways, that's what it looks like hafted. Okay. And yeah, you can use hide glue to make sure it stays in place. And these things were scored. Score marks, these foreshafts. That was for glue. You know, when you use glue, like hide glue, the score marks help it stick better to the wood. And I covered up the score marks that were on this one. But yeah. So that's what it looks like hafted. Okay. There's a little bit too much here on this. But as it dries, you can flatten it out with your fingernail. Or take a piece of Antler or one of your pressure flakers and flatten this out. If it looks too bulky, you can push on it and flatten this out. And as it dries, it shrinks, so it holds everything in place nicely. Okay? And we lost a bunch of people that were watching. I guess they don't want to see it hafted. That's okay. All right. I probably should have gone a little bit further up on this. Oh well. Let's check the chat and say goodnight. Alrighty, let's see. I'm tired. Have you ever made a arrowhead at a Holiday Inn Express? Always. Yeah. Wonderful piece you have there, my friend. Excellent job. Thank you, says Turd Ferguson. Thank you. I love how that turned out. Thanks. Good night, Patrick, says Jim Cooper. See you later. See you next time, Jim. Let's see. Doesn't sound right to me. Marty says. Looks amazing. Magnificent. Thank you. Let me see here. What else did I miss? Oh, Marty's talking to someone else here. Birch glue. Yeah, birch glue was used in Europe, but not that much in the New World, although there are some examples, and it was not unknown in North America. Birch glue was used, but we don't have much evidence for it. We have more evidence as the as time went on, like in the, let's see, late prehistoric, I think that's where most of the evidence is for it. Earlier than that, like in the archaic and early archaic and paleo times, there's not much evidence for birch glue in North America. But there's lots of evidence for birch glue in Europe. Let's see. How many times can you reuse sinew before it completely starts disintegrating? That's a good question. How many times have I used this sinew over and over again, guys? 20 times? It won't disintegrate, actually. As long as you don't abuse it, you can keep reusing it. Yeah. As long as what abusing it means is you leave it wet for too long, then it starts to degrade. But if, like what I do is I hang this back up. I hang this back up to dry every time I use it. And if it dries quickly, you don't have to worry about it getting rotten or degrading. It stays usable over and over again. And also, I don't use glue with this for my demonstrations. Okay, so I don't have to worry about soaking it for a long period of time. If you are trying to duplicate how they used to do this back in the day, yeah, they would use hide glue to keep this glued down, and you had to soak it for longer than just a few minutes to get it to loosen up off of the foreshaft. Okay, but you can still reuse it. And I think that's what they used to do as well, is in most cases. You have to replace these blades as they break. So you just, if there's glue or something over the top of the sinew, you just scrape it off. You know, there's some of this, you can put this glue over the top of the sinew, or you can use paint or whatever. Scrape off as much as possible. Soak it in water. Just keep it dipped in water. And wait till it gets soft enough. Then you can take the sinew off, pull out the blade, put some new glue there, and use the same sinew over again. You can do that at least 10 times. Yeah. To support the flake or not to support the flake? That is the question. Yeah, flint snapper. I never worry about supporting flakes because I get mixed results. Sometimes when I try to support flakes, it stops the flake. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't want to have to worry about it, so I never try to support flakes. It just adds an extra layer of complexity to the whole situation that I don't like. So I never worry about flake support. Good question. Stan says hello from Canada. Nice. Let's see. I think I've answered the questions earlier. A lot of these questions. I'm going to say goodnight in a minute. I'm just looking to see if I missed anything. Yeah. Let's see. Bobby Estes. Aaron, $1.99 super chat. Thank you very much. All right. So I think I answered the questions that I can see. Yeah. Flint Snapper says sinew also, but he hears it pronounced sinew most of the time. Yeah, me too. When is your next crapping? Next year? First weekend in May is when we have that Tennessee Knapping, and there's always the contest where you have to, not have to, there's always a contest that you can enter when you compete with others to knap the toilet tank porcelain. Yeah, it's once a year. I know in the Pacific Northwest they used fish skin glue. Yeah. Yep, instead of hide glue, fish skin glue, yes. Or fish bladder glue also. Yeah, the air bladders, you can boil them down, or there's other ways. You don't have to use boiling, the boiling technique. Let's see. I'll show you eventually how to make hide glue without boiling it. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah. If I missed your question, I apologize. Try to ask it in a different comment section or something. In another video. I'll see if I can answer. Paleolit just now joined us. Morning, Pat and chat. Yeah, I'm about to end the stream. Do you use turtleneck for bowstring? Said David Rushing. I have not yet. Someone was going to send it to me. But I will eventually try turtleneck skin for bowstring. Yeah, Poliolit says it's 6:25 a.m. where he's at. He's in Poland, and it's coffee time. Yep, but this is the end. Unfortunately, you've joined us at the very end of the live stream. You can soak the hide for glue. Yeah, you can soak it, but you need to ferment it. I'll show you how to do it. Eventually. Okay, that's it. Unfortunately, we got to go. Yep. I'll see you next time. The next live stream is Monday. I don't do live streams on Saturday, Sunday. Those are my busiest days, so I work until midnight. Okay? I work and actually do napping for the auction. Okay. We'll see you guys later. People are still joining us, even though we're gonna quit the live stream. All right? I see you guys saying goodbye. All righty. Good night, everybody. Good to see you. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.